Neha, we are live.
Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to all our audience. And today we are yet again back with another session with Gopal Gupta. And today's topic for discussion is Decoding Secure Code Review, a human approach. But before we proceed, let me just give you a quick introduction about Gopal Gupta. So, he's a security architect with Thales India, and he would like to describe himself as an incredible human with 14 years plus of experience as an InfoSec professional and 8 plus years of experience as a security architect. He is a security veteran who has worked with banks, global enterprise, and carry a lot of hands-on experience with security technologies. So we all want to hear it from Gopal Gupta. So Gopal, over to you.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today's session, and thanks the group to invite me for this talk. I'll be quickly going through uh, the uh, the approaches as a architect. I suggest there are uh, technically there are three approaches. One is data-driven approach. The other one is the control-driven approach, and third one is the vulnerability-driven approach. Okay, so these are the key approaches. Okay, how you can target your secure code review. Okay, so next slide, please. Yeah. So the very first approach is data driven. Okay. So when you talk about the data driven approach, the key point for your secure code review is data. So which kind of data is there? What is the importance of the data? Okay. What are the standards applicable to that data? Okay. So one example for that is like when you're having credit card data, so you'll be more concerned about the only the credit card information or the cardholder data. Okay. The uh, the other things might be secondary for you. Okay, so you want to focus how the data is handled and what is the regulatory requirement for your data. Okay, uh, if you are concerned about the some privacy related regulations like GDPR. Okay, so then it becomes more important that you target the data which is the important from the data privacy point of view. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to know how your data is being flowed through the system, how it is being stored, how it is being processed. Okay, and based on this journey, like you want to see what are the critical points where your data might be mistreated or it might get misused. Okay, so all these three pillars related to confidentiality, integrity, and availability. You want to see how your data is being uh, processed, how it is being stored, and how it is being flown through the system. Okay, so the key is your data. So you can trace the data, you follow the data, and wherever it is going, okay, you just keep check of that points. Okay, and that's how you figure out okay whether you are handling the data or that certain place correctly or not. Okay, the the other point is related to threats. So what can be the threats? So again, related to your CIA. Okay, so is it the internal insider you're talking about, or is it something external? Okay, or it can be a partner. Okay, so which is your threat actor here? Okay, and how they can target your data. Okay, so your attackers, the adversaries would not be interested in something which is not useful for them. Okay, and they would be interested in something which is very valuable. So if your system is not having something very valuable, they might not be that much interested. It is not like they will not be interested at all. Okay, they might not be interested much into your data. Okay, so that gives you the leverage. Okay, you first target the places where it is most critical, and then you go to the least critical one. So Ovas talk about the threat modeling. Okay, so where you can see how you can do the threat modeling, how you can follow the data flow diagram, how you can create the flow diagram and check what are different places. And the same thing you can apply for your secure code review. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah. So the other one is control driven approach. So control driven is like you know the different kind of security controls like authentication, authorization, session management, cryptographic controls, input validation. Okay. So the the different approaches when you talk about the control. So you first pick okay which is the control you want to evaluate whether you are doing the right kind of authentication or not. So you first check okay uh, how your authentication is implemented. The is it based on some kind of password? Is it based on the certificate? Is it just uh, the zero trust model, Is it having some kind of smart card? Okay, or is it based on some kind of delegation of authentication like the OpenID Connect? Okay, or OAuth 2 protocol. So in that such kind of scenarios, you know, the you target the you first take the control, okay, and then you traverse, okay, how that control is implemented, where that control is implemented, how that control is protecting the different kind of components. So if you are having a microservice kind of architecture, okay, so your authentication controls would be most likely applicable on the only on the very first layer, okay, and the second layer, which is behind the first layer, okay, that might not be that much critical, or that you don't have to do much kind of validation if you have just verified once, okay. Similarly for the input validation, so if you have centralized input mechanism, or there is a dedicated microservice which is doing the validation, okay, or if you're utilizing some kind of framework which is doing all sort of the validation, okay, you then okay, this is the only place where you have to do the thorough input validation. You don't have to go and check all each and every service for the validation. So you know what you have to ensure is that whatever the other services are consuming, okay, that format is already verified, okay, the data format is already verified in this place where your centralized microservice or the centralized scheme, okay. So that's how you target from the control driven approach, okay. The other example could be your cryptography. Okay, so if you are having the cryptographic control, so now if you're having the data uh, encryption, okay, there can be data encryption the at the channel level, okay. So if your data is being transmitted from your customer and to your environment, okay, the TLS communication is the one thing, okay. So you'll be verifying whether the your TLS communication is secure, whether it is having all kind of secure protocols, whether it is uh, having the right cipher source or not, okay. So all those kind of things, with your certificate validation, okay, key management, okay, all sorts of things you'll be checking only at the first place where your SSL is terminating, okay. You don't have to go and check each and every microservices for that, okay, because that SSL terminating is happening at those places, or it is between two components, okay. Maybe it is internal, okay. So you don't have to check and verify. So it is a control driven approach, okay. So how it is applicable into the uh, how is it applicable into your secure code review? So the same approach, okay. So like the TLS is just an example. So if you're having the data level encryption at rest, okay, how you're encrypting the data? Is there any a specific module which is doing the encryption? Okay, so you go and verify that module. Is that having the right kind of entropy? Okay, right kind of key. It is having the key mechanism, right kind of key management system. Okay, so if you verify that, you are sure that as long as you are using that module, okay, or you are using you're not deviating from the that kind of structure, okay, you don't have to go and look at all the places for the cryptography related issues, okay. Again, there's one good references from the OWASP, okay, where you can check the proactive controls and see, okay, how those kind of controls are implemented on your system, okay, whether we are deviating or not. So this is the point of having these control driven approaches. You are specifically looking for the weakness in the system, okay, where that kind of feature, the functionality is happening, okay, that the processing is happening, okay. Next slide please. Okay, so now this is the third one, and most of the time we use this third approach, okay. So whenever you uh, if you look at any of the organization, okay, so most of the time they adopt this approach, vulnerability driven approach, okay. So why so? So whenever somebody talks about the secure code review, the very first thing would be we have the automated tools, they scan our code, okay, and then they tell about the issues, and once we are fixed, we see the issues, we analyze these issues, we are done, okay. So this is a vulnerability driven approach, okay. So you use certain kind of tools which scan your code. They tell, okay, these are the vulnerabilities in your system, okay. They might have some kind of reference classification, like OWASP top 10, sense 25, CWE, or whatnot. Okay, so what they have is this kind of classification. They tell you, okay, you have so many cross-site scripting, and then you go and check, okay, where is the, like, why this cross-site scripting issue might be there, or if they say, okay, you have a escalation issue, you might go and check, okay, uh, we might have an escalation issue, and then you traverse back. Okay, so this approach actually is quick because you are using the automated tools. Okay, but the analysis time for this kind of approach is slightly higher. Okay, uh, when you're doing the analysis, because now for each and every vulnerability you have to go and check, okay, whether we are doing the validation at the right place or not. Okay, so if you interlink this one with the previous one, which is related to your control, okay, what is happening is you're checking the vulnerability. Okay, this is like XSS vulnerability, cross-site scripting. Okay, whether we have done the validation or not, you're going back to the source of the issue. Okay, and then you're checking, okay, how the data is being flown. Okay, how the data is traversing from your code. Okay, sometimes you might not find the validation scheme because it might be handled at the framework level. Okay, so you might suspect that, okay, it is a positive issue, and then you might uh, try to fix it uh, in line. Okay, but might not be the case. So whenever you're doing this kind of vulnerability driven approach, okay, you also make sure that you also know the structure of your application. Okay, you know what are the different modules, what are the different functions that you have. Okay, which are responsible for certain kind of controls. Okay, so that whenever you're doing this kind of vulnerability driven approach, okay, when you're using these tools, okay, you know these are the this kind such kind of validations, or this such kind of controls are implemented at this level. The other example of this one is, let's say you have some kind of microservices, and the you are scaling the microservices as an individual microservice, and then because the your automated tool is has failed to identify a certain kind of the session management or authentication. Okay, now what will happen? It will flag it as this. If you're looking the your microservices in silos, you'll see, okay, yes, this is indeed a uh, right issue. But when you look the whole solution, okay, then you'll figure out that, okay, no, this is not handle it the microservice level, but at a solution level. So there might be another microservice which is doing it. Okay, yeah, there is one disadvantage. Okay, or there is a you can say some tricky thing which you need to also ensure is, like, whether your microservice is always intended to be used behind some other microservices, or is there any plan to open this microservice in future to everybody. So if your microservice is going to be consumed by everybody else, then yes, you might have to replicate those kind of controls here as well. Okay, so the vulnerability driven approach actually is when you most of the time you do the assessment from the tool. Okay, you run the automated tools. Okay, and you get the results. You traverse what are the your sources, where the vulnerability is being ended up. Okay, so what is your sync? Most of the time, your either your source is common or your sync is common. The source is where the issue is originating, and sync is the where actually that have the weakness that the data is ending up. Okay, so that is called sync. Okay, you for tools you can have a well, large debate whether the open source tools are good enough or not. Okay, that's a contextual thing, so we'll not go into that. Okay, the other thing which is most of the time is missing from the vulnerability driven approach is the manual review for business logic related vulnerabilities. Okay, so most of the time the people just delegate it to task. Okay, they say we will figure out at the task time, like whether we are doing it or not. Okay, sometimes you'll or most of the time you'll be able to find in the desk, but it is still a best approach to figure it out during the your secure code review. So when you are reviewing the code, you look closely. Okay, what are the weak point you have? So based on your uh, the workflow. Okay, you check what can be the what can go wrong. So you have the negative test cases developed as part of your test cases. Okay, so that is how you in fact integrate your secure code review as part of the your development. Okay, so you have the negative unit test cases as well. Okay, which is checking for the business logic related issues, like whether we are accepting the negative amounts or not. Okay, so these are all related to your business logic thing. Okay, so not everything can be covered as definitely as part of this one, but uh, definitely most of the time you'll be able to figure out, okay, business logic thing. And whenever you're asking the the person to do the secure code review, okay, manually, this is the most critical part. Okay, don't rely just on the tools report. You also have to check whether how they are doing the manual review. What is their reference model? Okay, how they are checking. Okay, if they are just saying, okay, we are scanning using 2 or 3 tools, that might not be sufficient. Okay, if they are saying apart from the vulnerability list, okay, the or whatever OS top 10 or something, they are also checking the various kind of controls whether they are missing or not. Okay, then yes, they are doing the right thing. Okay, and again, for the manual review, you have various things. Okay, so you can refer the OS cheat sheet series as well. Okay, so you have all the list of vulnerabilities. Okay, you can go through those vulnerability lists and you can manually check. Okay, what could be the issues which are specific to a manual review. Okay, which cannot be identified using a automated tool. Okay, uh, I think that is that's it from my side. Yeah. Over to you.
So I see no questions. So I guess we are good to go now. Thank you so much, Gopal, once again.
Thank you, everyone.